And welcome into the program. This is Protect and Grow Chicagoland Retirement with Chicagoland's certified financial planning professional. He is Tim Stearns, CFP, founder of TJ Stearns Inc. Tim, always a pleasure to have you here on the program, and now newly again published author with your newest book, Solving the Modern Retirement Riddle.
Peter, thanks for having me. I'm glad to be here to talk about the book.
Yeah, well, it is a great book, Tim, and I like the way that this presents kind of the problems that we are having with modern retirement planning and confidence that lasts and endures throughout retirement, the way that the financial industry has addressed the issues that we face in retirement, and then kind of rethinking the problems and the questions, much like you do with a riddle, kind of looking at things a different way.
Well, it is a different way nowadays. Most people are used to seeing what their parents did in retirement, which is, you retire, you might have a pension. You also have Social Security. You have the best of both worlds there, and they've done saving. Well, most of the people that are retiring, newly retired or about to, I should say, are going into this with just having whatever's in their 401k. So that dollar needs to stretch. That's a concern to them. In fact, that's the number one concern of most baby boomers right now, is running out of money.
Yeah, well, we've got a lot of things to be concerned about, I think, in the financial world, Tim. And quite honestly, I'm not sure if there's ever been a time where everybody sat around and looked out at the future and said everything looks just roses and rainbows, right? We've always had things to worry about. But I think now we may legitimately have a little bit more to worry about than we have in times past. And certainly for those about to walk away from the paycheck intentionally and retire, there's market volatility, there's taxation, there's inflation, there's the problems with Social Security, there are international conflicts that could be influencing politics. All of these factors, Tim, are things that kind of go into this modern retirement riddle, and it's more and more left on our own shoulders to try to solve.
That's exactly right. Especially when you see things like the, Social Security saying that, they're going to have to reduce benefits now in 2033 instead of what it was before 2034. That gives you pause. You're running out of money. It gives you, anxiety. Well, what if the government reduces what you're supposed to be getting from them after you've paid into it all this time? Which begs the question again, do you have a plan?
Well, I think, and Tim, you hit on the number one real concern. The true riddle is, how do we have confidence that we have enough money to last through retirement? And these are the questions, ladies and gentlemen, that the new book from Tim Stearns, CFP, your host right here on Protect and Grow and Chicagoland area savers and investors, your resource for personalized plan and guidance. That's why he wrote the book. They are all included in Solving the Modern Retirement Riddle. And if you would like a copy, Tim, I'm certain you may have a copy or two laying around available.
We're more than happy to get the book into people's hands. The only thing I ask is that it's really for, serious savers and investors out there. We'll be happy to get the free book to their hands if they have over $500,000 worth of assets, and they're the first 10 caller that we get on this our show today.
Well, if you would like to receive a copy of Solving the Modern Retirement Riddle, the new book by certified financial planning professional Tim Stearns, CFP, pick up the phone now and give a call, 800-640-2256. That's 800-640-2256, 800-640-2256. Tim, this book does start off by kind of laying the framework. Top concerns among savers and investors and into retirement. There are a lot of them, as we have sort of already laundry listed, but set the scene. Why is the status quo? Why is the traditional thinking in the financial world leaving us open and subject to all of these risks and issues?
Well, there's so many risks. I think a lot of people go into this thinking that there's only one risk, and that's market risk. But there truly is so many other risks, like longevity risk, sequence of returns risk, things like that people don't, that's not front of mind, or they don't even know what it is. So the book defines all these things and talks about these things in detail so that people, in a layman's sense, can understand exactly what's going on out there.
And you detail three of the biggest expenses in retirement and how the financial world really doesn't even address the fact that we'll have expenses in retirement, doesn't do a good job of accounting for those expenses. In fact, a lot of financial projections are sort of based on market fiction or common myths and misconceptions about the market.
Oh, yeah. It's when we're in class, I ask people, what do you think the market's average like the last 22 years? And I get anywhere from 8 to 12% even. And, they've forgotten already about 2000, 2001, 2002, when the market lost 50%, 2008, when on average the market lost 36%, 2018 was down, 2022 was down. So these are things that we need to be more, these are relevant factors that determine what we're going to make. It's actually around 4.47% that we've done the last 22 years. My point is that your grandfather or your dad's stock market has left the building, and you need to be more, in fact, in front of it, knowing that you have stop losses, active money management. When you see a company like Vanguard buying companies that do active money management, the landscape has definitely changed.
Well, again, if you would like a copy of this book, Solving the Modern Retirement Riddle from Tim Stearns, CFP, pick up the phone now. Be one of the first 10 callers. If you've got at least 500,000 saved for your financial future, investment for retirement, then you can request and receive a free copy of the book, Solving the Modern Retirement Riddle. Just call 800-640-2256. That's 800-640-2256, 800-640-2256. Or you can go online, tjstearns.com, tjstearns.com. Now, Tim, when an individual saver or investor wants to address some of these modern retirement riddles, you do offer the opportunity for that next step in the planning process to actually put a plan together personally and individually as well.
Of course, we're happy to do that for people. I feel like most people don't have a plan. It's been said that 1 out of 10 Americans have a plan. And a lot of those plans I've seen are they're assuming things that they shouldn't be. They've left out factors that are going to affect them. So when we do a plan, it's pretty comprehensive because we want to give them a shot at an ideal retirement. And I think just going it on your own is not the way to do it.
Well, office conveniently located in Arlington Heights, ladies and gentlemen. But if you would like to maybe attend an upcoming retirement rescue course, rethink retirement, and learn about the modern retirement challenges and the riddle that is left unsolved by status quo planning, but you would like to address some of the top areas of concern in retirement, pick up the phone, give a call, find out when those upcoming classes are. You can meet with Tim personally at the Arlington Heights office, or always through the ease and convenience of technology. The ease of a virtual meeting is available as well if you'd like to get the conversation started that way. It all begins with a phone call, 800-640-2256. That's 800-640-2256, 800-640-2256. Or you can skip the phone altogether, always available online, tjstearns.com, tjstearns.com. And Tim, a lot of the reason why we've got all of these doubts and worries and concerns is many of us are unfortunately falling subject to some of the common planning mistakes that you outline in chapter 2 of the book.
Peter, the top problem that I see, the mistakes that people are making is not having a plan at all. And not to be facetious here, but not having a plan is having a plan. Winging it in retirement doesn't sound real good to anybody. One of the things we bring up in class is I say, let's say I'm a contractor and I'm going to come to you and I'm going to redo your house. And you say, okay, let's take a look at some blueprints and that type of thing. And people go, no, I say, I'm not going to do that. We're just going to wing it. Do you want to sign up with me? And people laugh, but that's what people are doing in retirement, is that they're just trying to see if they're going to get through it and take it day by day. And, when you have things happening in the world that are affecting your portfolio, your health, your family, you need to make sure that you do have a plan that in place, that no matter what, rain or shine, you're being able to pay the bills, whether the market's down, up, or sideways, you're good. And I think you need to work in the know, which is the knowledge of having KNOW, the knowledge of knowing that you have enough money to get through, 25, 30 year plus retirement. That's very important.
Yep. Tim, in chapter 2, these common mistakes and not having that plan, you actually state that for many people and the status quo in the financial industry, Plan A is optimistic projections, and most people do not have a plan B. This should be rethought. Plan B should be one of optimistic projections. Plan A should be financial security, stability, and confidence that gives you an optimal opportunity for reasonable expectations of achieving those goals. So, Tim, not having that plan A in place or having a plan A based on these overly optimistic projections, you believe is a common mistake in planning?
Yes, oversimplifying that you're going to return, 6, 8, 10% on your portfolio without any years where it's going to go down. That's what I see other advisors doing for their clients. When we do it, we might assume a 4% return, but we don't, going heavier than that, like 5 and 6%, I think is dangerous, because what if you have a 2022, where the average portfolio that people are walking in here with lost 20%. Okay. That doesn't resonate, is a good way to do your planning. So, a bird in the hand is what we try to do. We do very conservative, worst case scenarios, so that we show people, yes, you have to continue working, or no, you're good. You're going to work now because you want to. But why wouldn't you want to know that? It's the riddle is to get through the retirement without having, anxiety the whole time that you're going to run out of money. And if you're married, that just adds to it, because you want to make sure that you don't leave your spouse in a terrible circumstance.
And the Department of Labor backs up what you just stated, Tim. In fact, when it comes to retirement planning and projections, the Department of Labor has said that 6% should be qualified as an aggressive expectation. 5% as moderate, a 4% rate of return is what should be utilized for more conservative expectations.
And that's why we go with 4%, because we're not going to sit there and tell people all these heavy duty numbers, pie in the sky, hoping for the best. That's crazy. Winging it in retirement, I can't say it enough, is not the right way to do it. And, when these baby boomers are surveyed, their number one concern nowadays is running out of money. Well, if you're going to do it that way, where you're assuming these nice returns that are always going to be there, it just doesn't work. It's not going to carry itself.
And Tim, another common planning mistake that you make reference to is that people need to understand their budget rather than underestimate their budget, as well as underestimate the importance of understanding their budget.
We make people put it down on paper what they think they're spending per month, what's great is a lot of these people nowadays are using maybe a credit card for all their bills. It's really easy to do. They don't need to come up with a spreadsheet, but it's garbage in, garbage out. If you give us good information, we can turn out a great income allocation plan that shows you what you're bringing in, what you're paying out, and what your shortfall might be, and how you get to the finish line, which is paying and getting in that shortfall, taking that out of the equation, so that you have a great retirement.
Once again, we are talking with author and certified financial planning professional Tim Stearns, CFP, author of the new book, Solving the Modern Retirement Riddle. It is intended to be a resource for retirement-minded, proactive savers and investors looking to address some of the most common concerns, the issues and worries that we have into and throughout retirement by re-examining the question of how we can structure a more confident retirement. It is almost in the form of a riddle, and we need to solve it to have lasting financial confidence. The first part of the book, about the first half, kind of outlines the issues that we face and why things aren't working, the common questions, the misconceptions, the conflicts that are inherent in the financial world. The second half of the book gives us a different angle, a different light, and how to address each of those concerns and worries. And ladies and gentlemen, if you would like a copy of that book, Tim Stearns has 10 copies for listeners to the program today. Now, you do need to be one of the first 10 callers, and the request is that you have at least 500,000 saved, because some of the strategies in the book do work best for those proactive savers and investors. And if you meet those qualifications, if you would like a copy of this new book by Tim Stearns, CFP, Solving the Modern Retirement Riddle, just pick up the phone now and give a call. 800-640-2256. That's 800-640-2256. 800-640-2256. Chapter 4 in the book, Tim, Financial Conflicts. You mean to tell me that not all of the information that we hear or receive is absolutely certain to be in our best interest or intended to be as such?
Yeah, Peter, there's a lot of different conflicts out there. For example, that uh, we're seeing people who are pundits on TV telling you to do one thing, and then another one is telling you a different way to go. I talk about this in class. I almost feel like we have too much information nowadays. And that's why I would tell you, go work with a fiduciary, someone who's a certified financial planning practitioner, such as myself, that has worked with people and puts their needs behind yours, to make sure that you're taken care of. Conflicts of interest abound when we take a look at a lot of different portfolios, companies that might not be taking care of the people, they're charging them, but they're not doing any trading. They're not rearranging things, just kind of, putting it on autopilot. I have a lot of clients that are pilots. And I'll tell you what, when they're taking off, when they're landing, so the takeoff we'll say is the easy part, right? That's like accumulation for us. But landing is a little different beast. They don't use autopilot. They're going to make sure that they're in charge of the controls. And that's why I'm saying you can't just leave it to chance, your retirement. You need to make sure that you're understanding where you're at, understanding where you need to go, and then monitoring that you're on that route.
Chapter 9 in your book, Tim, risk and volatility. Now, we've already talked a little bit about the volatility inherent in the market, but certainly not the only risk that we will face into and throughout a 25, 30, 35-year retirement.
There's so many different risks out there. We have a lot of people worried about markets. And, before you picked up the book, you're going to know what market risk is. You lived through it last year. But I want to quantify that. I don't feel like a lot of people understand what's really in their portfolios. These credit card companies ask you, what's in your wallet? Well, what's in your portfolio? What happened last year to you? We had a 13-year bull market. And what happened was the market took up where bonds used to be. So equities kind of ate up where bonds were losing. So what we're seeing is many people in their 60s who have a way too much of an emphasis on stocks in their portfolio. And so last year they lost, on average over 20%. Now, if I'm just starting out my retirement and I'm pulling out money, then that is sequence of returns risk, which I'd say about 99 out of 100 people in America have no idea what that means. So let me say that again. You need to make sure that you understand that going into it. If you can go into a bull market, if you have a crystal ball, then more than likely you'll be okay. But if you go into a down market like in 2008 or even last year, you're looking at, you're climbing up a hill pretty heavily. And that takes a lot out of your portfolio because you are a net seller of assets. You're trying to pull out money while the market's down, thereby locking in losses. So what do I do? Well, if I had a plan, I have something else that I'm pulling money from and not locking in those losses in my equity portfolio.
Tim, another issue that you address in your book is kind of the problems in the riddle here. Inflation. Now, before 2022, we had a period of a long period of historically low inflation. And because of that, you talk about and discuss the fact that a lot of financial and retirement plans and projections really did not include nor address inflation, which, as we move through a period where we experienced higher than average inflation, the highest in the last 40 years, really led to a lot of problems and doubt and worry for those without that plan in place.
Well, one of the things we'll do in class is we ask people, how much was gas when you got your driver's license? Just to start to set the tone of what inflation can do to a portfolio. The other one I give an example of is that in 1976, you could buy 4 tires for $200 at the local Sears store. All right. I just bought tires for my son the other day at Costco because Sears isn't even really in business anymore. And they're over $1,000. So that shows you how it can erode that. Then you put in the fact that when Social Security gives you your cost of living adjustment of 2.7% for next year, right? When inflation's well over right now, over 3%, we're actually losing money, right? We're not being able to buy what we were able to buy a year ago. Those are things that give me pause, and I would hope someone who's going to retire would be the same way.
Tim, the second section of the book prompts us to think differently about the problem, about the riddle. It talks about how money behaves, the different various investment options, high-level planning, and essential planning issues. Basically, every plan must address the source of information and a goal-oriented perspective. And then income, investments, taxes, healthcare, and legacy are essential planning issues that you say many plans, in fact, don't address. They are rather simply a collection of investments or mutual funds.
Right. And the other thing I feel like is that if you want to make sure you have synergy, things going in the same motion when you're within your portfolio. And we've had people come in here and go, oh, I went to cash because 2022 was so rough. Well, now guess what? They affected the cost of their Medicare for the next couple of years, things like that. So you're looking at, doing something over way off that you think isn't going to affect other areas of your life. You're not in a vacuum when you're in retirement. Doing one thing can affect somewhere else. Like I say, having too much money in retirement, they do means testing on what you're going to be paying for Medicare. So how do I do that? Which leads me to another thing. Guess what? Taxes are going to go up in the future. And one of the biggest myths I've been told since I've been in this industry is, tell retirees, hey, you'll be in a lower tax bracket. No one believes that anymore. In all my classes, everyone gives me the thumbs up when I ask them where they think taxes are going. So these are all things that we need to be cognizant of and open our eyes. Don't bury your head in the sand. Get a plan together.
And that's why the last section of Tim Stern, CFP's newest book, Solving the Modern Retirement Riddle, ladies and gentlemen, encourages you to rethink the problem and come up with a different perspective to the solution. Step one in this, Tim, is not looking at our investment net worth and assets as a rate of return, but instead thinking about retirement in terms of our top priorities, which creating income and having a specific plan to address that need.
We have to create income. I mean, it's that simple. And I think people say to me, hey, I have $1 million. I have $2 million. Is that enough? What are your bills? Do you have pensions? What is your Social Security? Are you going to churn on? Are you going to wait till later? And do you know how that affects your wife? There's a lot of things in here that go into play to make it a successful retirement, and having a plan. We uncover all those rocks that you have to look under. You might not like what you see at certain points, but it's knowing that ahead of time instead of getting to be like, let's say 80 years old and going, hey, honey, I'm sorry, I guessed wrong. We might have to go live with the kids. We might need welfare from the government. These are all things that can happen if you don't do it right. And I've seen that in our horror stories when I was at DePaul University, where they would give us case studies where, people had done things that absolutely derailed and was to their own detriment in investments and that type of thing in retirement. And the next thing you know, they're out of money. And the last thing everyone out there wants to do is be out of money. That's the number one in front of mind for every baby boomer I've ever met. So to do this, you have to have a plan.
Tim, studies unfortunately have shown that over 50% of Americans could not come up with $400 for an emergency without going into debt, without putting it on the credit card. If that kind of situation came up. Now, as sad as that certainly is, I have to back up and say that the majority of listeners to a program like this probably are a bit more proactive and hopefully have at least that emergency account in place and probably are well on their way toward saving and investing a reasonable amount for retirement, which is fantastic. But with that being the case, studies still show that 9 out of 10 Americans are concerned about having enough money to last through retirement. 9 out of 10. And as you have stated coincidentally in the book, as well as many times on this program, 9 out of 10 Americans also do not have a written retirement income plan. And you summarize in this last section of the book by making the connection there. This is more than coincidental. We need to have that written plan put together.
Well, having a written plan is going to give you, peace of mind, being able to sleep better, knowing that if something happened to you, your wife or husband's going to be okay. These are things that need to be taken care of. You cannot bury your head in the sand and hope for the best. And the other thing I'm seeing a lot of is people investing like they're still 40 years old. or, hey, I didn't make enough, so I'm going to really double down now and go into the markets heavy. I mean, these are things that, that's panic. And you don't want to be panicked when you're going into retirement. You want to make sure you understand exactly where you are, where you need to get, and how you're going to stay there. And that's what a plan does.
And that's what putting the plan together can help you achieve, ladies and gentlemen, having that written protect and grow retirement income plan that you can get there at TJ Stearns Inc. Now, if you would like a copy of the book, once again, Tim Stearns started the program today with 10 copies of his newest book, Solving the Modern Retirement Riddle, available for the first 10 callers with at least $500,000 saved for retirement. Don't know how many of those have been spoken for, but still maybe a few copies left. So pick up the phone, give a call, and we can get you in and hopefully get a copy of that book to you. 800-640-2256. That's 800-640-2256. 800-640-2256. The real true value of the program and of having a resource such as Tim Stearns, CFP, a certified financial planning professional right here in the Chicagoland area, ladies and gentlemen, is that you can work together hand in hand to get your protect and grow plan put together. So if you would like to formulate the plan for retirement that solves the modern retirement riddles, pick up the phone and give a call, get that conversation started. 800-640-2256. That's 800-640-2256. 800-640-2256. Tim, I really enjoyed your book, Solving the Modern Retirement Riddle. I like the way that it's laid out, asking the questions, addressing the concerns, laying those out, and then prompting us to rethink the way that we are looking at the problem and providing a solution that may make more sense in solving those concerns and doubts and worries. So I appreciated the book. It's an easy read, if I can say. You can get through it in maybe just an hour or two, ladies and gentlemen. And it is a great look inside of the modern financial issues and problems and the conflict that we have in planning for your stable, confident financial future. Tim, you did an excellent job of laying out many of the biggest issues and the problems with the status quo planning methodology and some of the solutions that will help today's savers and investors.
Thanks, Peter.
Always a pleasure having certified financial planning professional Tim Stearns, CFP, here on the program. Great book, ladies and gentlemen. You can order it on Amazon, by the way. Solving the Modern Retirement Riddle by Timothy Stearns, CFP, or be one of those first 10 callers to today's program. 800-640-2256. That's 800-640-2256. Get the book in your hands. Get your Protect and Grow written retirement income plan put together as well. We always appreciate you listening. Look forward to speaking with you again real soon.
Tune into Chicagoland certified financial planner Tim Stearns' full radio program and visit tjstearns.com for many valuable resources, including other great episodes of Chicagoland Retirement. Be sure to subscribe.
Securities offered through TJ Stearns, a registered representative of Crown Capital Securities LP, member FINRA SIPC. The information presented on this program is provided for informational purposes only without warranty of accuracy, completeness, or suitability for particular purpose. This program is not intended to be and does not constitute financial, investment, legal, or tax advice. This information is general in nature, not specific enough to be construed as advice. You should not make any decision based on the information presented on this program without independent consultation with an appropriately licensed professional or competent advisor. Investment in securities or the market involves a potential risk for loss of principal. Trading, therefore, may not be suitable for all listeners. Annuity guarantees are based solely on the financial strength and claims-paying ability of the issuing company. Withdrawals of growth from annuities may be taxable as ordinary income in the year it is taken. Individuals should review contracts for specific details of the product's features and costs.